Hello, assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another session of Zoom In on the Halal Metropolis. And here with me today is Dr. Mamnoon Siddiqui. He is an orthodontist based in Northville. He's also a community activist and a leader and one of the founding members and chairman of the board of trustees at the newly established Rayyan Center in Northville. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Siddiqui.
Hey, walaikum salam. How are you doing?
Good, good. And I should also mention he's my cousin, so it's a little weird to call you Dr. Siddiqui.
You've been through the grind, so you have been a patient. So.
This is true. This is true. Yeah, I have you to thank for my smile. So, I want to get into a little bit of how the community is dealing with the new situation that we find ourselves in, and with Ramadan coming up. But before we get into all that, how are you doing? How's your family doing? How are the kids?
Alhamdulillah, everybody's doing well. Everybody's staying home and staying healthy, and we're just discovering each other and different ways to keep busy and staying connected with extended family and siblings and just this kind of hit us fairly quickly in a really short order, but Alhamdulillah, we're making do and doing our part to keep us level-headed and get us through this time.
Yeah, it must be really challenging with the mosque. It's pretty newly established. When were the doors officially opened of the masjid?
So yeah, we got our occupancy back in late October of 2019, and Alhamdulillah, we were on a steep path to bringing the community to a new center, and we had sporting programming, we had programmings for the masjid, we had all these things that were happening at the masjid, and then all of a sudden, all the momentum that we were building in this new center kind of just flattened out completely, because we were one of the first masjids to actually shut everything down. We shut down all activities other than Salah as soon as the first week that it was announced that we had 2 cases in Michigan, and then after that we were still doing some regular Salah with limited. We would get a handful of people, not really more than less than a dozen for any other congregational prayer. So our numbers weren't as huge as some of the other masajids in the area, but we were still allowing people to go in and pray as long as they were following the social distancing guidelines. But after it became very clear that this number and was not good, I think people made the decision that we should probably completely, especially when the stay-at-home order was issued, we said let's not mess around with this and do the right thing, which is to halt all prayer and all activities at the center. So that happened right around the time when the governor issued the stay-at-home order.
Yeah, I think it must be particularly disappointing or frustrating with a new masjid that just opened. There must have been so much excitement building up to this. I know it's been a long-term project, and then it's like you really start getting things flowing, and then all of a sudden you can't really do anything.
Right. Now. We feel that way too. That we had all these amazing programming events planned out for Ramadan and before Ramadan, and then that just now we're not sure what's going to be like in Ramadan. But Alhamdulillah, our community is resilient, and we will come up with some creative ideas to keep the spirits high among our congregants and the community. There's a lot of uncertainty and anxiety and reflection, but this is also a time that is allowing people to stay home with their families, reflect on their own situation, but also reflect on a situation of others and who are perhaps not as fortunate as some of us who have the luxury to be able to stay at home and hopefully ride this out.
Yeah. So speaking of Ramadan, it's like on all of our minds, because it's going to be a very a very different one. Certainly we won't be having any family iftars, this year. And so, how are you, and how is the masjid adjusting? Are you guys doing any remote programming? What is Ramadan going to look like at the Rayyan Center this year?
Well, it's interesting because we've actually never had our own center before. We were kind of doing things the last couple of years. We've been renting a hall at one of the local churches. And graciously, they offered to allow us to use their church, and we've been using the church doing our nightly salah called Tarawih, and we were very excited that we were going to be moving over to our own facility, and I guess this year we will not be in our own facility. We'll be doing things remotely. We have adjusted some of our programming that will allow people to connect to our sheikh virtually, and reminders will be done via like how we're communicating right now. And hopefully, this thing gets better and we have some guidance from the governor that some sort of opening may happen while we're in Ramadan, then we'll switch over to our programming back to masjid, inside, masjid physically. And just following whatever the guidelines the state issues. If the social distancing guidelines are still in place, then we'll make sure everybody prays 6 feet apart, or whatever the guideline is. But we will also going to use our own judgment to see what's the most safest thing is that we can have community members follow, because we've not seen each other for a while, and Ramadan and other events, there are very emotional and spiritual events where people who haven't seen each other, they want to go up to each other and hug and all this stuff. So we have to make sure that we're aware of such things, that people are smart, that this thing isn't going to go away but magically, and that we still have to do our part to make sure that we all stay safe, yet at the same time we're able to do our prayers and our reflection, and in a nice, safe manner.
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like, even when and if the stay-at-home order is lifted, and let's say we're able to have Eid, on time towards the third week or of May, it's going to be a little awkward, I think, hugging people and shaking hands. I think we're all going to be sort of feeling the aftermath, of this collective behavioral change.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting, and but I think we have learned fairly quickly that it's something that you have to adapt to, and safety and well-being and health and well-being of everybody is paramount, and ultimately all health and everything comes from Allah. But we also have to make sure that we are taking precautions to make sure that, or in as much as possible, to make sure that we don't contribute to the spread of this thing, and to control, hopefully, as much as possible. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Please be safe and stay at home, and hopefully we'll be seeing each other in person sometime soon.
Inshallah.
Okay.
And just make dua that everybody, even this time, is able to connect with Allah in their own way, and this is difficult time for everybody, whether it's not being able to go to work, or we're fortunate that we can stay home, but there's a lot of people that still have to go to work and risk themselves to be able to do whatever work that they do. We're making prayer for them to stay safe, and all the people that are working hard, or people who are in danger of losing their jobs, or people who might have their job hours cut, or they think that they might be on the verge of losing their job. There's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty, And at times like these, it's even more important that we are able to be there for each other to support them spiritually, and as much as possible in a neighborly manner as well. So my thoughts goes out to everybody, and we wish them all safety and health, and inshallah we'll get through this, and we'll be we just have to be patient, and remember Allah, that everything happens from His will, and we just have to be patient and thankful to Him.
Inshallah, yeah. Thank you so much for all that. Really appreciate it. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
Inshallah.
Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.